right, today we're going to talk about angles of elevation and depression. So let's go ahead with some vocabulary to figure out what these are. So the angle of depression is below the horizontal line. So here's the angle. So if this is the horizontal line, the angle of depression is below it. The angle of elevation is above the horizontal line. So if your horizontal line's down here, angle of elevation is above it. And there are two horizontal lines. So you've got a horizontal line here and a horizontal line here. Those are parallel to each other. And the angle of elevation and depression are congruent to each other because they're alternate interior angles. So if I have here and here, this guy is congruent to that one because your transversal is there. And so as you can see here, I did an example. So parallel lines, transversal, and this one is congruent to that because they are alternate interior angles. And then if you draw a vertical line, so it could be either here, or if you draw a vertical line here, a right triangle is formed, which allows you to use the trig and inverse trig ratios for missing sides and angles. And remember, those trig and inverse would be SOHCAHTOA. So make sure you have that written down. All right, let's practice some problems. All right, with word problems, it's very important that you draw a picture to see what you're looking for, and then label that picture. I drew triangles, right triangles for you already, but you need to draw on your notes so you can see what we're looking for and what's missing. All right, at a point of 125 feet from the base of a tower, the angle of elevation to the top of the tower has a degree measure of 38 degrees. So if I were to look here at this first one, we want to know 38 degrees is above the angle of elevation. So this is your horizontal line at the bottom. So angle of elevation is there. And it says at a point that's 125 from the base of the tower. So if we're looking for the tower, this is the tower right here. So, and then from 125 feet away from the tower is here. All right, so now we are looking for how tall the tower is. So let's think about what information we need and what we have. All right, we have an angle, so we're going to use either sine, cosine, or tangent, and it's giving us opposite over adjacent, so let's label our sides. So if we're going to use opposite over adjacent, we need to use tangent. All right, so our angle is 38 degrees, and opposite is x, adjacent is 125, so the proportion, cross multiply. Oops, smush it in there. And then you'll get x equals, and we're going to round to the nearest thousandth. So that's telling us our tower is approximately 97.661 feet tall. All right, this next one is a pilot flying over ground level at an altitude of 2,400 feet sights a building. So the pilot's up here. The angle of depression from the pilot to the building is 6 degrees. So this is a little different. So this one is your angle of depression. So your angle of depression is going to be 6 because your horizontal line's up here. This is your horizontal line, and your angle of depression is right here. So this is 6 degrees, and it says it's flying over the ground level. So if the pilot's up here, we know that this has to be how high up he is in the sky. Now, we don't know, we want to find the ground distance from the building. So if the pilot's here, and we want to find the distance from here to here. So here's where it's a little tricky, but not too bad because we can do this. Remember we said that these are parallel lines with a transversal. So if this is 6, this is also 6. So we can label that there. And now that we have that, let's look at the information that's given. We know 6 is here, so this is going to be opposite, this is going to be adjacent, and then we need to figure out, okay, which one can we use, which is opposite over adjacent, and that is tangent. Set up a proportion, multiply. Now remember, we can't have, we're solving for x, so we need to move this to the other side. That simplifies to 1. And then x equals 22,834.475 feet. And that's your answer. So just remember, your opposite, your angles here are congruent, so that's why we could bring that down. All right. And then we're going to, so you're going to try this one and this one. If you did number 2, well, I'll tell you, 2, you should be using cosine for both 2 and 4, and 2x should be 13.681, and then 4 should be 411.645. All right, let's go ahead, let's try number 5. So here it says a building 275 feet tall. So let's say this is our building. Cast a 160-foot shadow. Well, your 160-foot shadows are going to be on the ground like that. So you're going to find the measure of the angle. So we don't know this angle. That's what we're looking for. Oops, time to switch classes. All right, so now we know that we're going to do opposite, adjacent. So we're going to do the inverse So let's go tan, set up your fraction. Equals theta, which is your angle, and then plug that into your calculator. And that is your degrees. So that's it. And then this one, just remember, ladders are typically going to be your hypotenuse. And if you have a 13-foot wall, you'll put that here, and you're looking for the angle. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to finish these. And I'll give you a hint, you're going to need to use the inverse. All right, so make sure you go through and you use your angles of elevation and depression, and then we'll go over any questions you need later.